All right. Can I ask you some quick fire questions?
Yeah.
You have. All right. Here's a question. I got hammered this morning from a few people for putting up on LinkedIn. I think the days of BDMs are over. I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of BDMs in the future. I think they'll be dying out faster than they get started. Do you think I'm wrong? I'm open to you saying I'm wrong because you're a BDM and you have been since before the dinosaurs. Like, do BDMs have a future in NDIS?
BDMs will always have a place. It's just their scope and size that may change. So what you're saying, a BDM for any NDIS business is a massive investment. A BDM is going to be, it's not billable. It's not a billable role, and it's not something you can attribute to any plan. So the source of where that's coming from is the business's bottom line. So immediately 2/3 to 3/4 of businesses that becomes unaffordable. A business cannot sustain long-term a drain on funds without a return on investment. And so that parallel is going to come from it. That's why you'll see a lot of organizations within the NDIS that will typically have BDMs that cycle through quite a lot. Hate to say it, more often than not are usually SILs or core providers, because the return on investment is low or infrequent. And the amount of time or amount of investment a business is willing to make is too low to make it a reasonable investment in the first place. I mean, it's like the idea of trying to buy a Lamborghini and hoping that after 3 down payments that you can take the keys. You might have the keys for a little while, but if you don't keep making those payments, you've got to give the car back. So if you're a smaller business, I think this is what I mean by scope and sequence, is that a larger organizations that maybe draw their funds from other sources of revenue outside the NDIS, or draw their money from other interests or from multiple services within the NDIS, may be able to absorb that in that cost to be able to continue to grow and develop and invest in a BDM. But smaller ones may not. And so yes and no. Yes, BDMs might be, okay. Again, what I think should happen is a smaller operator should be looking at, well, how can I form a hybrid role that a BDM element might be present, but I still have that source or other source of revenue coming in from this particular staff member, whether it be they're also doing admin for me, or they're also doing social media management, or they might also be a coordinator. I don't know. I'm not their business. I'm not going to tell them how to run. So yes and no.
I love the honesty there. Yes and no. Okay, so maybe there is a future. Stu, you're one of the most connected BDMs around. Help me understand, why do BDMs spend so much time hanging out with BDMs instead of generating business? Because all the directors I talk to are like, I don't understand, why are BDMs always putting stuff on LinkedIn about how they got together? They're not exchanging clients. Like, what are they doing? Is there like a secret BDM stonecutters guild, or like what happens there, Stu?
There is no secret guild. We are not allowed to talk about the secret guild. Sorry. In relation to why would BDMs hang out with other BDMs? Okay, for some of them, it's because it's the only networking opportunity that they're going to get. For them, there are some where as if their role is to go out and meet with people who are likely to refer to them or to support that business, in theory, that's going to be bombarding, as much as I hate to say it, a bunch of support coordinators over and over again, or LACs, more likely coordinators. And quite frankly, coordinators don't have the time to be sold out all the time. And there's only so much coffee and cake that they can be given before they're either diabetic and losing a foot, or more likely interrupting their own KPIs, because coordinators have their own KPIs to meet too. They're working for a business too. And so BDMs associating with other BDMs, one, there's an exchange of ideology and idea on terms of what works, what doesn't. There's also that other fundamental layer, which I try to work on, which is, what do you do that I don't? Where is a situation going to be where I might have someone who needs this thing? Therefore, who can I lean on when I need that solution?
Okay, that makes sense. So does that actually still happen in practice? Because what I'm hearing from directors is that their BDMs are not gaining anything from those interactions. But if anyone would know if that works or not, it'd be you. Like, are they mistaken, or what am I hearing?
No, they're not mistaken for some of them. It will come down to what their business does. If their business does absolutely nothing different, they're going to struggle, regardless of how nice their BDM is. If your service is a stock standard SIL in stock standard parts of, different capital cities, if you're a SIL in Frankston, there's loads of them. If you're a SIL in Western Sydney, Southwestern Sydney, loads of them. There's no shortage. Therefore, if you don't stand out in some way, your BDM's only going to be able to do so much. So partly on the fault of the business for not looking at how they differentiate themselves, whether it be their offering, their clientele, their website.
They're just unniched, is what it's.
They are not niched enough. It's that they might have an idea, but they haven't quite narrowed it down. So if they're not getting a return, or if they're not seeing anything happen from there, either one, their BDM's coming across quite poorly, or coming across as rude or as pushy. But more likely, it's also that they may also be that they're unable to distinguish themselves from the rest of the market. I mean, I guarantee if you go to Google right now and you type in the word disability care, you're probably going to get 18,000 businesses with those combinations of words in there. Care first, and disability, passion, embrace. Like, you can name. Honestly, if Gillette and the NDIS get together, between their razor names and the names of NDIS businesses, you're going to see a lot of similarity there.
I like it. I really do. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay, here's another one. It's like, let's imagine if you were running your own NDIS business. Let's imagine it was, say, a SIL business, because I know how much you love SIL.
Oh, love it.
And visiting everyone's houses. For what purpose, I don't know. Let's imagine. What would you do different to how others are doing in the growth department to grow better?
Have a look at what typical SILs are doing right now in the way they advertise their vacancy. And viewer, feel free to pause this, go and check it out, and then come back in about 5 minutes when you realize what I'm talking about. Is every single one of them will advertise a vacancy like a real estate website. Now, the problem with that is it's a great idea because you want to showcase the house, and the house is important. But what's really important when moving into a home is who you're going to be living with. That often gets glossed over by SILs more often than not. Now, that might be because they find that there are some challenging behaviors and they want to try and mask it a little bit. Or more realistically, it's because it's what they think is the norm. And so then the question then is, the problem is in the question, is when I'm looking for a SIL home, what am I looking for? I'm not looking for a house. And SILs haven't quite worked that out yet. And even if they haven't worked out a way to be able to demonstrate that in a searchable way with an algorithm that can demonstrate that. It's a multi-million-dollar idea if someone actually wants to bother doing it. A search engine where you can search for SIL homes based on either the age range or interests or gender of the participants.
I love how you think. I love it. Okay, that makes perfect sense. All right. What's something else in NDIS that we just accept as normal that you look at and go, why is that normal?
I'm going to look at probably the advertising in ways that we advertise to participants, whether it be the use of stock footage, the use of the standard, the variants of our ethics and values that could be copied from ChatGPT and rearranged 7 different ways for 7 different sites.
Or not rearranged.
Or not rearranged at all. Literally just lifted from ChatGPT and just pasted. I think that we need to see a level of advertising probably on a better on par with what's done for allied health and for insurance services, where they actually have a certain set of rules of things they can and cannot say. When it comes to advertising, they cannot promise certain things. They cannot say certain things. In my previous role, when I was working with an allied health organization, even I had to be very careful about what I did and did not say in advertising, because it would breach that particular code of conduct. And it wasn't a company one. It was a overarching peak body code of conduct. I think that we should probably have something like that in the NDIS, because at the moment it's not that people are promising things that they simply cannot. Okay, some may do. I can't speak for all. That promise things that they can't deliver or should not be able to deliver. And I think that there needs to be stricter or better rules, not necessarily stricter, but better rules and regulations around advertising to participants within the NDIS. Because I think at the moment it's kind of let itself go a little bit.
I hear what you're saying. Oh, how about one more question, Stu?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I acknowledge we've gone miles over time. Hey, Stu, how on earth do you do family and work as a BDM who actually does like a lot of stuff and drives all over the place? And how do you look after your own sanity year after year after year? How does that work? Like, how do you do it?
It's not going to be easy, and it never is. For point of reference, my family are a younger family. I've got 2 young kids, both boys, and they're sort of in early primary school and still in daycare. So for me, if I'm not careful in managing my time, I'm going to miss important time with them. So there are times where of a nighttime where they've gone to bed, I might be replying to an email or 2 on LinkedIn or on my email. It might be that I'll start early some days and reply to people at 7 o'clock in the morning after I might have dropped one off or something like that. There is no secret trick. So if you're out there right now wondering how on earth I do it, I'm not doing anything crazy. All I'm doing is making sure that I do as much as I can in the time that I've got, and ultimately still making sure I get to help put the kids to bed at night and read them the story and do all that stuff. There is no secret. And if you're looking for one, stop putting so much pressure on yourself, because Michael can do it. I can do it. You can do it.
Quality. I love your work. Or maybe we can't and we're faking it. There's some days, I'll be real, I'm just getting by. It depends which day you ask.
There's nothing wrong with those days, but the main thing is that you're not doing anything secretive that's special. It's not like you've got a special secret protein powder under your sink that you're pulling out in the morning that's going to magically make it better. There is no cure-all. It is just do what you can, work hard for the people you work, but ultimately you're working for your family, not for a business.
Oh, it's just funny you say that, because the support coordinators who are giving away free time and therefore taking time from their family to do so would view it differently. What do we say to them?
I think that they've learned the power of no, unfortunately. The support coordinators are the ones that actually have it harder because they're usually on the front line, whereas people like you and I, our primary is B2B. So we're dealing with other professionals who typically want to switch off at 5 o'clock. Participants don't switch off at 5. They don't fall asleep at 5:01 and wake up at 8:59. They have lives outside, and support coordinators genuinely care. The good ones, they actually care. And they're the ones that really sort of struggle to say no sometimes. And unfortunately, and we tell them all day, every day, learn to say no. And it is very hard to do. But learn the power of either saying no or no problem. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate that. I'll come back to that in the morning, or I'll just come back to that after I've had lunch, or whatever it may be. There are times where for a coordinator, it's a little different because crises happen and they happen in real time. We know that, and it's different for them as it is for us, but learn to be able to say no, or at the very least, not right now. For some things, not everything, but for some things.
I like your work. And one last quick plug, shameless plug. Stu has one of the best podcasts in NDIS world, one of the most fun. Stu, tell us, why do you do podcasts?
Actually, I did it because I wanted to add an extra voice to the room. I think that with podcasts allow for people who have a story to share said story. Not everyone. This is actually something that you and I probably disagree on a little bit, is that I don't think every single person should have a podcast. But
Bill, we have got a good divergent opinion here. Tell me about that.
I do think that everybody has a story to tell, but not everybody's Stephen King. And so you might be great for an episode on a podcast, but not necessarily have a whole podcast yourself. And I do believe that if you've got a story to tell, absolutely, you should be on a podcast. But with podcasting, I found that there was a niche in the market for a short form podcast. And so mine is deliberately structured to be micro. It's the podcast that you can listen to on the way to work when you work from home. And so that's the spirit and intention of what my voice to the room is I'm going to showcase some of my great friends who are in the NDIS and some of the interesting things that they do that people don't ask about, and put that in front of people to listen to. So
I think
I've
that's
had
awesome.
and look,
Love your work. It has been Stu Paull, the Oracle from Plan Manage Assist. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, Stu.
my absolute pleasure, mate. Anytime.